A major political fault line shifted in Venezuela Saturday morning as the United States arrested Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro after a quarter century of socialist tyranny. That's a good thing. Canada did not recognize Maduro as the legitimate president of Venezuela. And with him out, we hope Venezuelans will finally be able to enjoy freedom and democracy. Now, I've called for the recognition of the legitimate winner of the 2024 election, Edmundo Gonzalez, along with the courageous hero and voice of the Venezuelan people, Maria Corina Machado, and I'll continue to do so. Ultimately, Venezuelans must be allowed to choose freedom for themselves. But this moment also resets the clock for global energy markets, and this is why it matters to Canada. For the past decade, Liberals have blocked Canada from producing the oil and gas needed to replace Venezuelan oil that the U.S. was sanctioning. Those sanctions could end soon. Venezuelan production could return to its historic levels of 3.5 million barrels per day, up from the current 1 million barrels. That additional Venezuelan oil is heavy crude, similar to Alberta's oil sands, which means it will compete directly for scarce U.S. refinery capacity. In fact, many of the refineries that use Alberta oil today used to use Venezuelan oil and may go back on it. Each Venezuelan barrel the Americans take could be 1 barrel less they take from us. So we need other customers fast. That's why we must immediately move to approve a pipeline to the Pacific Coast. Prime Minister Carney has not clearly stated that he would support such a pipeline. His only commitment in his memorandum of understanding with Premier Danielle Smith is to declare such a pipeline to be a project in the national interest that can be referred to the Major Projects Office for consideration of designation under the Building Canada Act. In a lot of words to say effectively, he'll send the project to a new office for years of consideration and study and an eventual decision. We don't have time. We don't have time for bureaucratic games and signing ceremonies, given that the Liberal government killed a prior and very similar pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific back in November of 2016, and given that Mr. Carney endorsed that decision to kill that pipeline, and given that there are present-day Liberal MPs who still say that they are opposed to the project, we should doubt whether this Prime Minister is serious about getting it done. And there's only one way for him to prove it. Approve it. That's why the official opposition is calling on the Government of Canada to approve a new pipeline to the Pacific within 60 days of receiving Alberta's forthcoming proposal. Carney will then have had over a year as Prime Minister, having been elected on the promise of building at speeds not seen in generations. He only needs to do one thing to make this pipeline happen. Get out of the way. Now, that might seem simplistic, but it is actually that simple, and here's why. There are hundreds of billions of private dollars looking to invest in wildly profitable projects like this one, so we can get the private funding to build it. 6.5% of Canada's energy and trades workers are unemployed and available to get working. So we have the labor force, and we have the resources right under our feet. The only thing missing? A permit, a federal permit. The courts have already ruled that premiers cannot block interprovincial pipelines and that First Nations do not have a veto, only the right to be consulted. Therefore, there is only one level of government with the constitutional authority to approve or reject the project, the federal government, and only one person with the legal authority to decide for that government under Bill C-5, and that is the Prime Minister himself. Only Mark Carney stands in the way. It's time for him to get out of the way. Getting out of the way is all the federal government needs to do to relaunch our entire resource sector and secure our economic sovereignty. Liberal anti-development laws and regulations are all still in place. High taxes on investment and energy, still there. We have among the slowest permitting in the entire world. These are all federal blockages. Getting them out of the way is the method and the means for retaking control of our economic sovereignty. I'm not here just to point fingers. I have a plan to make Canada stronger, self-reliant, and sovereign. In fact, I call it the Canadian Sovereignty Act, that in one bill, would get the government to repeal growth-blocking laws that Liberals put in place and make it impossible to build pipelines, mines, and other projects. Second, it would end the industrial carbon tax, which raises the cost of everything Canadians make and buy. It also makes our energy and resource sectors completely uncompetitive. It drives up the cost of making steel at the very time our steel industry is hit with steel tariffs. And finally, it makes it more expensive all the things you need to build a home or for farmers to grow food in the middle of an affordability crisis. Get rid of that tax. And while we're at it, scrap the oil and gas cap that kills jobs. End the EV mandates for good, not just delay them. It will increase the cost of a car by $20,000, and it's already hurting Canadian automotive production. Why not get rid of that mandate so that we can produce more internal combustion engines people actually want to buy here in Canada? Lift the plastics ban for Canadian consumers as well as Canadian producers. Turbocharge our economy by eliminating the capital gains tax on reinvestments in Canada. That would be like economic rocket fuel for our economy. Our sovereignty hinges on our government getting out of the way and allowing Canada strong to be more than a slogan. We don't have time for more meaningless Liberal signing ceremonies and photo ops. We can't wait for more of Carney's too clever by half compromises, protracted negotiations, sneaky one-time exemptions for a favored few companies and cronies. We can't afford Liberal failed cabinet ministers picking and choosing projects for political reasons while capital waits on the sidelines until it gives up and goes elsewhere. It's shameful that an energy-producing province like Alberta, which should be the engine of national economic growth, had to negotiate a conditional promise and a non-binding MOU that Liberal MPs won't even endorse. I have a real plan to unblock our economy, secure our sovereignty, boost our dollar to lower the cost of living. Conservatives stand ready to work with any party to stop stopping and start starting. Because after all, the race is on.